Welcome back to the Ready State. We're in another predicament episode here, and what I want to talk about is one of the health practices that we see from our healthcare experts. In full disclosure, my grandfather was the director of a huge health department in Washington. I've been washing my hands obsessively ever since he took me in and showed me the microscope. So, what we're saying is, hey, when you're out in the world doing what you need to do and you come back and take your shoes off, this is just a good practice anyway, and there are a lot of cultures that do this. In fact, for your kids, some really interesting research came out of Norway that kids who went to class and took their shoes off actually performed better, and that just may have been that the kids were barefoot or they felt like home. Either way, chances are right now in your life, you're barefoot more than you've ever been in your life. This is possible for some of us. Some of us maybe only really get a few hours of barefootedness a day. And let's just be honest, we should be barefoot more often. And it's not appropriate sometimes. You live in a city, you live in a place that's cold, you can't be barefoot. But now we're barefoot. So let's take this opportunity to kind of do a couple things. First of all, let's talk about what reference position for your foot is. So there's a lot of foot-related silliness that can be cleaned up or addressed when we begin to talk about reference positions. Now, if you've never had an arch before, or you say, hey, I have genetically or congenital flat feet, that may be true. You may have been doing this for a long time, but what's not true is that you can't create some kind of good structure that's available to you in this moment. So let's talk about what reference foot position is. First, if I look down at my feet, I want to pick my feet up and put my ankles just in the middle of my feet. So instead of being collapsed, I'm just going to put my ankles in the middle of my feet, just like that. Very simple. And then standing here, I want to have my weight balanced between the heel of my foot and the ball of my foot. So what's nice now is I have this beautiful reference position, and then I can wiggle my toes and use my toes to grip or do whatever I need. But I've got pressure through the ball of the big foot, all the way out to the little pinky toe through those met heads, and then also to the heel. So that's where I'm trying to think. I'm trying to create a tripod here. This gives me a lot of options. And if I go too far outside, notice that I lose weight on the big toes, and now my ankles are on the outside of my feet. I have too much that way. And if I collapse, all my weight goes on my big toe. I lose the weight on my outside of my heel, and you can see that my ankle's in the middle of my foot. So I don't worry about how much arch that you have. I just worry that you have some arch, okay? Now, so check this out. One of the things that's nice about having this reference foot position is I can also begin to cultivate a much better foot straightedness. So go ahead and stand up with me real quick. And what I want you to do is just do a little test around hip function. Because we're barefoot, we can really see what's going on. What I want you to do is stand with your feet straight, just underneath your hips, whatever's comfortable for you, it doesn't matter. And I want you to shift your weight onto your toes. And watch what happens to your body. And if you shift your weight onto your heels in order to stay balanced, we often see that there's something else is going on with the system, right? When I collapse, my femur doesn't necessarily support my hip, and my hip will oftentimes create positions of stability for me. My body's going to solve this problem. It's going to make these more stable positions. But with feet straight, I automatically begin to capture some of the resting kind of torsion, the chirality built into the legs by design. So one of the things that happens is, you know, as you lay down on the ground at the beach, your legs fall out. And the more you lay down, the more your legs fall out. And that's annoying because you tend to burn the inside of your legs. So you do all these kind of fancy things with your feet to try to hook your toes. But the idea here is that your leg is actually built up to create passive rotational stability just by standing there. So when I stand with my feet straight, I'm automatically beginning to wind up this connective tissue, muscular, bony system, which makes my pelvis and the rest of my system more stable. So now I have a more stable pelvis on femur relationship. And all I have to do is stand here. And what you'll see is that in this position, not only do I end up with a better sort of pelvis relationship, even better function through my pelvic floor, it will solve a lot of problems by being aware of what's going on with my foot pressure. So if I can come back to ball and foot and heel, all of a sudden you'll see that in order to stay balanced, I'm either going to be in some really strange position, or when I stand up, I'm going to be able to feel and use that feeling of where's my pressure, and all of a sudden things will start to come back into alignment. So having this reference position on the ground can make a big difference. All right, now I want you to see is that this position also gives me a lot of opportunities, a lot of function in my body. So with my feet straight, if I just try to screw my hips into the ground, what I'm trying to do is pretend like I'm standing on this floor. I'm going to try to rip this floor apart. So my right foot is going clockwise. My left foot is going counterclockwise. I'm just going to keep that arch. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just trying to see how much rotation I can create in the legs. So you'll see that it starts at the hip, but it goes all the way through the floor. Now, I'm not doing anything that requires high levels of tension. I just want to show you how much power you have available to here. It's so strong. Now turn your feet out to 30 degrees, where a lot of us just kind of casually stand. And the first thing I want you to feel in your body is, where's your weight if you stand like this? Notice that most of us don't have a lot of weight on our toes. If we're standing and we're aware, we've got our weight on our heels and maybe on the outside of the foot. Okay, so that's a big problem because we've lost this connection. And this big toe segment, this motion segment, this toe foot, as the ballet call it, really correlates with the quads and is an important functional unit. So if I stand here, I don't have any weight here, we start to see a lot of the capacities of the body turn off. And it's really difficult to be in plane in this position. So what I want you to do now is, with those feet turned out 30 degrees, notice that we don't have a good reference position to be balanced. And then also I want you to screw your hips in the ground, try to tear that thing apart again. What you see is that you don't have a lot of rotational options here. So certainly I can be in this position, I can step in this position, I can stand in this position, I can squat in this position, but it's harder for me to maintain that good foot function relationship that keeps all the lights on in my foot function, and it's hard for me to actually maintain good power and rotational capacity through the hip. So one of the things that I can do when I'm at home right now is begin to practice this position. And what's nice about having a straight-footed position is that even if I'm squatting or moving and my knees come in, I'm in a really protected position. The systems can handle this load really, really strongly. When I'm in this position and then I collapse, I'm going fast, notice I have a lot more degree of motion. And it's that high-speed shear that sometimes gets us into problems in terms of force production and potential mechanism of injury if I'm planting and going fast. And you can see my toe doesn't even look like a toe anymore. My toe looks like a bunion, right? So what I'm trying to do is say, hey, I can begin to practice and bring awareness to this. Now, because we're barefoot, one of the nice things is that this gives us an opportunity to play and restore our feet. And a lot of the shoes that we're wearing and a lot of the surfaces that we're on aren't really conducive to great human foot function, right? We're not on uneven surfaces, we're not on hard surfaces, so our feet get shut down, and we're probably wearing a lot of things shoes which look really great with jeans but aren't really conducive to good foot function. So what's nice about this is that if you just take a lacrosse ball or a baseball, whatever ball you have lying around, and just during your breaks start to swipe back and forth through your feet, there's a real opportunity here to just put some blood flow back into your feet, to bring some awareness. Even the proprioceptive upregulation is worth it, which means my brain now is like, oh, I can feel the bottom part of my foot. So what I want you to do is just get into the habit while you're working at home of just doing a little foot care, a little self-care, right? We've got this reference position. I can smash back and forth. There's no wrong way. I can play with my toes. Just explore this for a few minutes. You don't need to be obsessed about it, but you're already standing up doing some work and you're barefoot in your home. And if you only have a roller, you can still get all of that work done by smashing your feet and restoring their sliding surfaces and having a little bit stronger foot product for when we go back out into the world, right? So it's nice to be able to have access to this. Now here's the test. Here's the big punchline. Because we have this opportunity to turn up how our bodies are thinking about our feet, to practice this foot reference position, to cultivate awareness and what's it look like to have the best arch available to me, what's my pressure, so if I'm washing dishes or moving around, I'd be like, oh, perfect time to practice this, right? And then try that later on. But once you have this feeling and you've got this reference position, what I want you to do is to put on your cute shoes. So you've got that reference shape, then put on your cute shoes. These are my favorite shoes with jeans. And I want you to see how close can I get back to that reference position. And it's really hard for me in these cute shoes to actually feel the balance through the ground. And I've done the best I can by taking out the insoles on these shoes. But this shoe, this cute shoe with jeans, very fashionable, which is totally appropriate. Right now, I have plenty of wiggle room. I buy them a little large, right? My toes aren't jammed together. But, man, my weight is all through my heels. And in order for me to get my weight through my toe and my heel, it's kind of tricky. I can't really feel it very much. Okay, that's one pair of shoes. Go to my training shoes. And again, there's my insole out, right? And what I want you to feel is how radically different, potentially, the input is you're getting from the, oh, hey, look at that. I can feel my big toe, there's my big toe. I got that weight of between my heel and the ball of my foot, and I'm able to still feel the ground. And the sort of the measurement of the shoe that I'm interested in for doing most of the work is getting as close to the barefoot feeling as I can. I'm not saying you need to wear some kind of weird hippie shoe from non-vegan or vegan sources. What I'm saying is we don't want the shoe to disrupt, at very least, how much pressure I have between the ball and foot and heel. Can I feel what's going on in the shoe? Then I can make a shoe choice about what the task is at hand. But if a shoe is pushing me one direction, pushing me the other direction, pushing my heels, putting my toes, jamming my toes up, this is a big deal. And it's an easy way for us to assess how good is this shoe for the kind of task of lifting and moving, and especially in our day-to-day shoes. And if you do this with your kids, have them go through that, feel ball foot to heel, have them jump around, get a little input into their foot, then have them put their shoes on. Can they get back to it? They will be very quick to tell you that their shoes do not feel like their feet. And I'm not talking about cushiness or insides, I'm just talking about this reference foot balance position. So let's make the most of this in time, of this inside, because remember, we are shut down, but we are not shut out. This is our chance to reclaim some of our native function, hidden in the background of things that we're doing anyway. We'll see you guys tomorrow.